Law students essentials.
This is a true story of law students. I was born and raised in South Korea, came to the United States for law school, which is very overwhelming. And then I met these guys who changed my life. Number one,
Benny Debbie.
Hello, everyone. My name is Benedetto Davi, but I go by Benny. First of all, I would like to thank Will for letting me participate and be part of this project, which I think is great. Just some basic facts about me. I majored in philosophy and law, and it was in sophomore year of college that I decided I wanted to be a lawyer. I was drawn by the discussion and how to defend your position against others and in terms of supporting your arguments and things like that. And I had to do a lot of that in my philosophy classes, but it was at that point that I realized I wanted to be a lawyer. However, given that I'm actually interested in the transactional aspect of law, specifically in finance, I was always drawn to financial news, financial subjects, and things of that nature. So those are my career plans for after graduation or even before graduation to get some experience in the financial sector while at the same time doing something that incorporates the law with that as well. So, what is this podcast? I believe that this podcast is important for a number of reasons. One, for future law students, because when I was in college and I wanted to look up information on law school, what it would pertain, how to prepare for it. There were many blogs out there, however, not that many podcasts. And I think there is a difference between reading written material and actually listening to law students or anyone with knowledge in the field talking about law school because it's two different things. I think you can make a better connection when you're hearing somebody talk because you're hearing their opinion, but at the same time you can tell sort of what their personality is like, and you can relate to them and things of that nature. Um, Now, this podcast, I think one of the main goals will be to shed light on what it is like to be a law student, what it entails, how to prepare, and to sort of show the journey and what it takes from becoming a law student to a lawyer. And so I think each person in this podcast will be able to contribute something different. Um, for myself, I think I will be able to contribute the sort of mindset of how to apply the law in terms of a transactional nature. So that from case to case, we look at how both parties would have approached, beyond the casebook, because sometimes the casebook will only give the judge's opinion and maybe some counter arguments from the parties. But if I were one of the parties' lawyers, how would I frame the argument? What would I try to point out to better represent my client? And I think that that's important. When you're reading cases, sometimes you tend to overlook that and to just focus on, well, what's the law, what's the judge trying to say, what's the conclusion. But I think it's important to also think of the other aspects as well.
thank you for your introduction, Benny. This is going to be so fun, huh? I'll introduce you my next friend. Number two, introducing.
Greg Kimball.
Hi, this is Greg Kimball. Um, I decided that I wanted to go to law school after talking to someone about actually pursuing a different degree. After the discussion I had with this person, they felt like the things that I wanted to accomplish and the dreams that I kind of had, that law school would be a better fit. Undergrad, I went to SUNY Albany, where I studied Africana Studies, which is the study of the African diaspora. So I studied a little bit of history, a lot of bit of art, and culture, and also a good amount about developing nations and their relation to organizations like the World Bank and the IMF. So, because of my experiences, I am interested in policy, but I'm also interested in arbitration and maybe wanting to be a judge one day. But I keep my options open and I'm just exploring the different fields that there are available in law in general. One of the biggest reasons I'm interested in a podcast is that it gives me opportunity to see what I actually know, as well as an opportunity to discuss with my classmates and learn from them, and to give a perspective to others that they don't normally get to hear.
Thanks for your introduction, Greg. This is going to be so interesting. And last but not least,
Philipa.
Hi, my name is Philipa. I'm a 1L here, and I'm very excited to participate in this podcast. So thank you so much, Will, for thinking of it and for having us, for having me. Um, I became interested in the law at a very young age. Since I picked up my first John Grisham novel, and it was always something that I thought that I would explore and hopefully study. When I came to college, I actually did my freshman year and then decided to take a leave of absence for a year. I found it to be a very expensive endeavor if you aren't quite sure what you want to get out of it. I wasn't loving the classes, a lot of, heavy prerequisites and so forth. So um, I wanted to figure out exactly what I wanted to accomplish there and what I wanted to get out of my education because I realized what a privileged position um, I was in, but wanted to make the most of it. So I took a year off. I had grown up in a family where both my parents were born in France, so I'm a first generation American. During my year off, I went to live abroad in Bolivia and I was teaching English. And becoming a teacher really impassioned me to take my own education much more seriously. And again, just the realization of what a privilege it really is to be able to study um, imparted to me a sense of responsibility. Um, Also, in that year, I did a lot of traveling. Went to and all over South America as well as Southeast Asia. And I think these were the Bush years, so it wasn't a good time to be an American anywhere. But I think that slowly but surely, the more I learned about my own country's history, and when I came back to school, learning about other cultures and other histories through my interdisciplinary major, which was Latin American studies, I came to have um, a real appreciation and a newfound patriotism and respect for American law, the American legal system in general, and um, and jurisprudence in this country. Um, After undergrad, I was lucky enough to be offered a position as a paralegal at a plaintiff firm specializing in mass tort litigation against pharmaceutical corporations, which was also interdisciplinary and very interesting as it was sort of an intersection between so many different fields: medicine, law, public policy, insurance. And while there, I became very enamored of the legal system, and just seeing it in action made me all the more certain that I wanted to come to law school. I was lucky enough to be able to work full time and get a master's in global affairs, which I wanted to do because I felt that if I didn't, I might lose that foot in the door of a subject that really interested me. But again, I always knew that law school was to come, so I'm so glad finally here and doing it and really enjoying every moment of it. So thank you again, Will, for having us.
I thank you, Philippa. By the way, my name is Will. I'm also a first year law student. We are going to make this podcast not only educational but also entertaining. In the next episode, we will discuss contract law. I see you next time.
Stay tuned.
Essential.